People who clean up after festivals and similar events. What's the best and worst things you have found left behind? Not a cleaning person, but I saw a prosthetic leg left at the end of a metal festival. I was at a metal festival once, and when we were drunk and high, we decided to go into the fun fair bit on the way back from the last performance of the night. A friend of mine went down the helter-skelter, followed by a woman whose leg fell off when she got to the bottom. For a second we were trying to figure out if we actually saw what we had seen, but it was a prosthetic leg. I've cleaned up and found entire cooking sets and chairs. Free kitchen. I arrived with great expectations of a euphoric and carefree festival experience. I departed with a kitchen. I found a cooler and 135 in the lot after a fish show. What was in the cooler? It's ice. Worst is definitely a tie between the 5-liter water carrier filled with urine, or the lidded saucepan containing a single, fairly large, poo. You kept the pan, right? Damn right. Throwing away a barely used pan like that? What am I, a millionaire? I was working at a festival, although not doing cleanup, and stayed till the day after. The amount of tents people leave behind, brand new tents. Basically, people just buy new stuff for that festival, and then can't be bothered to bring it home / dispose of it properly. I ended up with a brand new 10-person tent, thanks to some other people's laziness. I helped out some hippie friends of mine running this little hippie festival called Chronophonium. About 500 people camping for 3 days. Lots of themes around sustainability, recycling and whatnot. Almost everyone left brand new tents in disheveled states all over the place. You can buy a cheap tent for next to nothing at the warehouse New Zealand's Walmart. I reckon people are packing up to go on the last day hungover as FPEEP, and they just wanna mentally write off everything and get home ASAP. These same people would have launched into monologues about wastefulness from big box stores and sustainable reuse at any other time. When you're hungover and coming down from a 3-day bender, principles go out the window. Even worse, people who triumphantly declare something like, you know what? I'm just going to leave the tent here as a donation. Why not let someone else have it, right? Then feel all altruistic about themselves as they leave their garbage behind. I did a clean at a 3-day music festival once. Literally the first night I had to clean one of the portable shower cubicles because someone had SPEEP in the corner and stuck a cocktail umbrella in it. Undefined. Also, nice chirping. Disgusting that someone would do that, but the umbrella bit made me laugh. That goo was probably the hottest holiday destination for flies all around the world. My dad used to be the guy in charge of renting out the Knights of Columbus Hall. Per policy, he had to be on site during the event, but would clean up after. The cleanup would usually be the next day, and I'd come along to help. The best thing we found was a 500 tip left behind by the father of the bride after a wedding reception with a little thank you note. The worst was finding the punch bowl the next day after someone had puked in it and put a lid over it. I'm pretty sure it had been spiked with something pretty strong before that, too. I'm pretty sure it had been spiked with something pretty strong before that, too. How'd you figure that out? Taste test? An overwhelming stench of alcohol mixed with a puke that made my nostrils feel like they were on fire. Bottle of rum. Lots and lots of drugs. Watches. Phones. Perfectly good clothes. Welly boots. Wallet / cash, etc. Worst is SPEEP tents. As in, abandoning your tent, but doing a massive SPEEP in it before you go, so it can't be reused. SPEEP tents is a regular occurrence. Like someone could be in the car getting on the highway and be like, oh, I forgot to SPEEP tent. Maybe they SPEEP in a tent, because the porta potties are often so very disgusting at many concerts. A heavily used dildo. Stuck. Tip up. On a tent stake. Do dildos have built-in odometers? You count the rings. After fish shows there's a group of volunteers that clean up the lot. It's called Green Crew. The first time I did it, I wasn't fully aware what the point was. We got gloves and a trash bag then spread out on one side of the lot and walked across it picking speed up. When we got to the other side, everyone was way faster than me getting to the other side. We were told to consolidate bags. I go to pour mine into the guy next to me. He goes, "Ooh, dude, we only pick up returnable and recyclable stuff." As I poured trash and glow sticks and like food and steep into his bag of recyclables. I did green crew at Gathering of the Vibes for a few years. I guess I was naive like you, since I would pick us cigarette butts and other pieces of regular trash. I'm an event manager for corporate conferences and trade shows. Best thing I've seen left behind was from a large well-known medical company. They left an unopened / brand new defibrillator that you'd see in an emergency room. When I called and told them they had left it behind, they said to keep it. So naturally I googled the item. Retail cost $5k. Worst item, nothing too crazy fortunately. Probably some used hair weaves or cheap dildos adult industry shows. Did it once. As a fundraiser for a youth organization. And collectively we found 3010 mobile phones. And this was during the days when it was a somewhat luxury to have a phone. Clarification and unthemed. Lucky. Indeed. I was in my early teens. So the money I personally found seemed like a small fortune. I worked for a summer driving the buses and cleaning them for a summer fest. Never found much left on the buses, except a lot of vomit. Except this one time we were walking through the lot tallying how many buses had a certain type of radio for the company, and I'd found the money pouch left on the bus by one of the girls whose job it was to collect payments from those riding the buses to the fairgrounds. In those days I was a poor college student and I choked when I saw there was around 2,000 in there. But I was also a good girl and turned it in. Apparently they had been set to fire her and sue her for the stolen cash. So I saved her from a criminal record. But of course she still lost her job for being careless. I never did get even a thank you from the company. You did the right thing, so I will say thank you. I cleaned up for an event once, and it was an event where you weren't allowed to bring your own alcohol in, so they can get you to buy it from the event itself, and whatnot, so cops were taking people's alcohol. Cool. That's fine. I was cleaning up, and two cops walked over and asked if I was 18. I showed them my license to prove I was, and they gave me almost 1,000 of unshade alcohol that they'd confiscated from people trying to sneak it in. Bottles of vodka and tequila, a lot of beer and rum, and a bunch of sea ideas, all given to me cause I was a volunteer and not getting paid otherwise. Was peeping greet undefined. Tough look, you're 18 or older? Question mark. Glup. Yes. Wanna some booze? Wanna some booze? Was the cop Jar Jar Binks? I'm an usher at my neighborhood movie theater, so IDK if this counts, but I found a plastic bag under a seat with 6 guppies swimming around inside, so I kept the guppies for myself, lol. I had to Google how to take care of fish, but it was fun, and I still have them today. You are a good person. A lot of people don't care for fish because they are cheap and are looked as disposable, but they are still living sentient beings. As someone who recently got into the aquarium hobby, I didn't realize how poorly taken care of most fish are. Even as someone who does their due diligence and research beforehand, I've still lost fish, and it's made realize just how fragile they are. Not a rave, but when I lived at a party house in my early 20s, I once cleaned up after a big night and found a cigarette with lipstick on the end you typically light. The lipstick wearer had smoked it backwards and inhaled nearly the entire filter. The filter is where they hide all the heroin. It's the best bit. No cure for cancer. I was told to cut everything off of the Tree of Happiness, where everyone was told to write something down that made them happy and tie it to the tree. It was in a public park, so they all had to be removed, and I put them into a jar because I didn't think I should just throw them away. So now I still have what I call the jar of happiness. Still don't know what to do with it. I'd love to see the messages. If you have the time and energy to make a website or an Instagram where you upload a pic of each one, it would be so cool. Like posts Askreddit but only wholesome content. That's a lot of time and energy though, I'm guessing. I agree with this. I don't think the people who posted the notes would be upset if the messages were memorialized on a website. Then op can just throw them away without any guilt.